Leticia, and today I'm going to be talking about the diathesis-stress model. Now, this model was a little bit challenging for me to understand at first because, from what I understood and read from it, seemed a little bit unbelievable to describe and to truly understand the concept of it. So, from what I gather from it, is somebody having a gene from a mental disorder, but it's not necessarily active or will be activated until this person goes through certain stressors or certain vulnerabilities during a stressful time that may trigger some symptoms that relates back to that mental disorder. Now, this idea of it makes sense to me, but it was hard for me to grasp it at first. Some vulnerabilities that can be shown or can be understood by my generation. I like to think about how my parents, I'm a first generation college student, and my parents are immigrants from Mexico. I don't, from what I've experienced, my Mexican Americans don't have or slash don't believe in mental disorders, so their way of coping with any stress is just move on and not really let it affect you whatsoever. So to me, having those stressors, it's very difficult to talk about it with anybody else um, because their way of coping was to get over it. And even though some of the way that they cope with it or some symptoms they may have relate to some mental disorders like depression and anxiety, I didn't really see it that way before. Especially now that I'm grown up more, um, I tend to realize how different they handle it and how different I tend to handle it, especially because we're different generations. I have friends that I talk to where we're like, yes, you're stressed out. This is why you can do this. Maybe it could help you, but the way that my parents handle it is very different. They just tend to okay, well, this happened, so let's do this, and that's it. Can't do much about it. They don't give themselves time to really evaluate the situation or go through the different appraisals. They just it's stress. It's a stressful situation. All you can do is this and get over it. So it's hard for our different generations to kind of understand each other. For the third question of how does the model advance our understanding of psychopathology, this just makes me realize that just because I'm not technically diagnosed or somebody's not technically diagnosed doesn't mean that different stressors or different vulnerabilities is not going to affect them in any way. It just means that I'm not saying that everybody has that gene, but it makes me realize that it's far more common that people tend to talk about. People tend to believe that, oh, you're born with it, and if nothing happens to you, then you're fine. But in reality, I like to think that there's various symptoms that come in and out depending on how you're able to handle stress and how to handle, your vulnerabilities when they're being pushed. This is what I gathered from this chapter, and hopefully it makes sense to you guys, but this is how I was able to relate it back to even my own experience in my household and just the different generations that are in the household. Thank you.